Invincible's one of those animated shows that no one expected to be this good, and it's been well over a year since Season 1's explosive finale shocked everyone. Ever since then, we've been waiting for Season 2 to drop on Amazon. Now, since we're waiting, why not dive into some hidden gems within the first season? So in this video, we're counting down 10 Easter eggs you might have missed in Invincible. Let's get started. At number 10, we have Family Matters. Now, in both the comics and the animated series, Mark attends a high school with a really familiar name. If you focus on the front of the school building in episode 1, you'll see it's named Reginald Vell Johnson High School. And if you're a diehard fan of, well, Die Hard, then you'll remember that Vell Johnson played Sergeant Al Powell in the 1988 classic. But he's probably best known for playing Carl Winslow in the 90s family sitcom Family Matters. Apparently, the creator of Invincible, Robert Kirkman, is a huge fan of Family Matters, and he even named the principal of the school B.N. Winslow. For number 9, it's the fate of Biplane. For this Easter egg, we're looking at the 4th episode, Neil Armstrong, Eat Your Heart Out. It starts out with Omni-Man turning down an offer from Cecil to protect a team of astronauts. It's their first manned trip to Mars, and since it's really important, Invincible volunteers to take his dad's place. But nothing in the show ever goes the way you think it will, so obviously native Martians capture the crew, leaving Invincible to come up with a way to save them. But right before the little inconvenience gets in his way, our hero gets a scenic view of outer space from the roof of the space shuttle. What he doesn't see, though, is the corpse of Biplane floating nearby. It's a dark but hilarious callback to the very first episode when the Immortal launched Biplane into space. Up next is number 8, Sandra Oh's Canadian Heritage. Now, this Easter egg is really easy to miss if you're not looking for it. During the first episode of the series, there's a flashback of young Mark and his dad, Nolan. In the scene, we see the way that Nolan first revealed his superhero origins to his son when he was a young boy. The two sit on a roof while Nolan tells Mark all about Viltrum, his home planet. But take a look at the red shirt Mark's wearing in the scene. Obviously, it has the word Canada written on it, but the family lives in the US. So why would he wear a shirt about our neighbor? Well, it's a neat reference to Sandra Oh, who's the voice of Debbie, Mark's mother. The actress applied for US citizenship back in 2018, but she's always stayed proud of her Canadian roots, and this meant that part of her own identity was mixed with the character she was playing in the show. Plus, it also explains Mark's own pride in being part Canuck. At number 7, it's The Walking Dead. This Easter egg was a fun one to discover, and before this video, we had no idea it was related to The Walking Dead, but honestly, we should have seen it coming. So this goes back to when Mark first gains his powers. He is not in control of his abilities yet, but he still wanted to try his hand at being a superhero, so like Spider-Man, he made his own suit and tried to stop an armed robbery, but the guy robbing the place gets intrigued by him and asks him his name. Mark responds by saying that he's ass kicker, but decides that's too childish. What's fun about this is that it's a shout out to when Daryl met Judith, the little ass kicker in The Walking Dead. And we should have seen that coming because Steven Yeun, the voice of Mark, played Glenn Rhee in the zombie horror. Best character. Next up is number 6, Mark's love for Seance Dog. This is a tiny Easter egg, but goes to show how dedicated Kirkland is to his TV shows. In the first episode, Mark's seen reading a comic book called Seance Dog, and he even recommends it to Amber in episode 3. Seance Dog is actually a reference to the superhero comic that he loves to read in the Invincible comics, but it's called Science Dog. But Science Dog was turned into a real-life comic, so Kirkland had to change the name in the series in order to retain the rights to Science Dog. The man thinks of everything. At number 5, it's Mr. Liu and his potential return. For this Easter egg, we're going back to episode 4. When Mark's on his way to Mars, Nolan and Debbie take a round trip to Rome, but things go sideways when the city comes under attack. It turns out that it's a huge dragon wreaking havoc on nearby buildings. If you're not well versed with the comics, then you'll be forgiven if you don't know Mr. Liu. He's a well-known shape-shifting supervillain in the Invincible comics. Originally from China, he goes on to become the leader of the supervillain organization called the Order. The character's backstory is pretty tragic too, like any other supervillain. Liu's home was attacked by the same dragon we saw in Rome. The dragon murdered his family, and in order to stop the creature, magic was used to trap it inside Liu. This gave him the ability to transform into the beast. And since he's a significant player in the comics, there's a high chance we'll see him again. Up next at number 4, it's Duplicate's brother. In episode 3, we see a guard walking down down the halls of a superhero prison, he passes by the cells of dangerous-looking characters. And one particular cell has dozens of identical clones in orange jumpsuits, and all of them look like a young guy with dark hair, but they look familiar, don't they? Well, if you're not an avid reader of the Invincible comics, you probably won't know Multipol. He's Duplicate's brother. And like his sister, he's got the ability to create infinite copies of himself, and remember Mr. Liu's order? Multipol's a member. But his sister fights for the good guys, so here's hoping we get a badass fight between the two in the future. Number 3, the Immortal Lincoln. There's a lot that happens in episode 7, it's as wild as the series gets, but there's a particular Easter egg near the end that serves as the icing on the bloody cake. After the Mauler twins give Robot his new body, they start working on bringing back the Immortal. The twins plan on making Immortal do their dirty work, but he has plans of his own, namely beat the ever-living crap out of Omni-Man. But we know what happens when we go up against a character voiced by J.K. Simmons. Anyway, when one of the twins hits the Immortal chest in order to bring him to life, we get quick flashbacks of his long life. One particular memory is the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln, but look closer, he looks calm as hell for someone who's about to get shot. But it turns out Honest Abe was the Immortal all along. Pretty big secret to hide for 200 years, right? At second place, we're looking at episode 5's special cameo. Just like episode 7, episode 5 is filled with wild stuff. So a new villain wreaks havoc on the streets of Mark's beloved city, a huge residential building starts to collapse. So Invincible heads in and holds up a larger chunk of rubble to allow the family to escape. He tells them to grab their stuff and get out. This shot was taken directly from issue number 18 of the comics. It's a full-page spread that shows a woman and her child huddled in fear as the walls crumble around them, but Invincible keeps the place from turning them into a tossed salad. But the cherry on top ties directly into number 10 on our list, Family Matters. So Mark's superhero duties get in the way of his social and academic life. He's always late for everything, just like Spider-Man. But while Peter Parker got a lecture from Doc Connors in Spider-Man 2, Mark's tardiness gets him a meeting with a Principal Winslow, voiced by none other than Reginald Val Johnson. Finally, at number 1, Invincible's bloody title card. Invincible's unique even for an animated show. It's got bright color palettes, but it's completely unafraid to show you disturbing imagery and gore. Honestly, when Omni-Man made literal minced meat by crushing Red Rush's head with his bare hands, our eyes snapped wide open, and we couldn't stop staring at the massacre afterwards. It kind of reminds you of Happy Tree Friends, doesn't it? If you're not familiar with HTF and you've got a stomach for gore, then go ahead and YouTube a clip. We promise it won't disappoint you. Anyway, a lot of audiences didn't notice Invincible's yellow and blue title card getting bloodier every single episode, until the end, of course. It started off clean and sparkly, but as the violence increased, the title card got just that much bloodier. And by the finale, Mark knows everything about his father's brutality and his plan to conquer Earth for the Viltrum Empire. No matter how many lives Nolan has to take, for the finale, the title card isn't just spattered with blood, but drenched in red. And we're thinking it'll get even bloodier in season 2. But for now, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for watching. So which Easter egg was your favorite, and did we miss out on any? Tell us below. And as always, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more top 10 videos just like this one. We'll see you in the next one.